On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Mackenzie Blackwood goes out and signs an extension and then goes out and wins a game behind a hat trick from Artturi Lehkonen. Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. Thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciate it. Make sure you're following us on social media outlets, LOP_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. We'll get to our subtext people a little bit later, and we talk about this game against the Utah Hockey Club, which the Avalanche win 4-1. If you're watching over on YouTube, you can see it's just me today. Kyle is on his vacation extension week, holiday extension week, I should say. And is it any wonder that Mackenzie Blackwood news happened when one of us was on a vacation? I took mine a couple weeks ago, and the Avalanche go and trade for Mackenzie Blackwood. Kyle takes a little holiday vacation, holiday break. The Avalanche extend Mackenzie Blackwood. So that's where we're going to start on today's episode. We'll get to the game against Utah in a little bit, but it was big news. Avalanche extend Mackenzie Blackwood. It's a 5-year deal, 5.25 AAV, and a total of $26.25 million. I want to start with Chris MacFarland and his comments, because I think they're interesting in that when they traded for him, Chris MacFarland came out and said, we're bringing him in not for a rental, or in this case, an extended rental. They're not trading him at the trade deadline. You only get in a shorter amount of time, and that time a rental. We're not backing that up a couple months and just making this a longer rental. The plan was that they wanted to sign him. They were comfortable with seeing what they saw in the other teams he played with, most recently, obviously, San Jose, that he was their guy. So they went out and they got him, and the plan was an extension. But MacFarland's comments were, we're going to let him get comfortable. Let him get comfortable. Let him get his feet wet, and we'll see how he plays. I took that as an extension's not coming anytime relatively soon. Could it come by the end of the year? Sure. Could it even come in the offseason? Sure. Before July 1st, before he's available to everybody. You didn't want it to get to that point. So maybe by, towards the latter parts of the season, maybe you saw it, because then you have a good barometer of what he's doing for you. You have a lot of games in hand, and you can see what he's done over the course of a longer period of time during the time that you've had him to go sign the extension. Well, apparently, Chris MacFarland feels like Mackenzie Blackwood's gotten comfortable, and they went out and they signed him now. What he's done so far since he's been with the Avalanche has been great. And you saw it again on Friday night against Utah. So I think it's a short time frame, and maybe Chris MacFarland and the front office is thinking, we liked what we have seen so far from him. If he continues that, the number that we're both at right now just goes up. I don't think it goes insanely high, but you're at the 5.25 million. Maybe it goes 5.75 to 6. Someone had posted on, I think it was on our Blue Sky account, where they said, if they waited, that number goes up $3 to $4 million. Mackenzie Blackwood is not going to get $8 million a year. He hasn't done anything in his career to this point to command $8 to $9 million in goal. Could he have squeezed out an extra $1 million, that's what you're looking at for the Avalanche. And with how things are with the salary cap, they can't go there. You have a lot of things that you still have to button up, and a lot of things that are still unknown with Gabe Landeskog for one. Obviously, the Mikko Rantanen contract. We'll get to that in a second. So I think the Avalanche felt like we liked what we saw before we even got him. That's why we went out and got him. And we like what we have seen in the few games that he has played for us so far. So he's been everything we wanted. We expect him to continue to do that. Let's lock him up now for 5 years at a number that we think is decent. For me, as far as the number goes, I think it's a little bit high, if you ask me, not by a lot. I was thinking, and I this was a couple weeks ago. People were always asking me, like, what do you think a Blackwood contract looks like? I didn't really know. I don't like taking guesses on term, with the exception of like your superstars. Like those are easy terms to guess. But those are 8-year contracts all day long. But for guys like Blackwood, it's a little bit like you're not going to give him an 8-year deal. The number I was thinking was like 4.5, 5 on the high side. So they're a little bit over 5. Is that horrible? No, it's not horrible, but I think it's a little bit higher, just a little bit than I would have gone. I would have gone 5 at the most because of what I just said. Like he's everything looks good for him, and the Avalanche will say, oh, his metrics are great. And they are. I'll trust them on that. But I think the Avalanche are banking on, once again, bringing in a guy who hasn't played with a team like this. So they feel comfortable bringing him in and putting him in front of or behind their stars and how this team operates. And they feel like they're comfortable in doing that in the tune of a 5-year deal. They've done that with many guys, and I don't feel like this. Some people are feeling like, what does this do for Mikko Rantanen? I don't think it does anything. I really, because this is not in the same. You have to pay a goalie. The Avalanche would have had to pay a goalie at some point in time. The difference between Georgiev and Blackwood in terms of contracts, what was Georgiev at? 3.4, I think he was at 3.4, and Blackwood's at 5.25. So it's a little bit less than $2 million extra that you're paying Blackwood, and you are going to have to pay some goalie. You weren't going to go backwards from Georgiev. You didn't have Annunen around to take the reins and have a really low AAV. So you were somebody was going to get some money from the Avalanche to play goal for them. So because of that, I don't think this affects the Mikko Rantanen deal at all. The interesting, I don't remember off the top of my head who it was. I think it was Evan Rahl who put up that Blackwood and Rantanen have the same agents. And I don't follow agents. I'm not one of those guys. I don't know whose agents are representing who. But does that get the ball going on a Mikko, like talking more with Mikko? It might. Because you've heard that the sides have kind of like talks have cooled down a little bit. And that happens in negotiations. And then they could kick back up next week and like that, the deal's done. So this deal specifically, I don't think has any bearing at all on a Mikko Rantanen contract. He's in the 14 million per year range, where Blackwood is in the 5. And they play different positions. If this was for a forward and it's for more money and you're in that $8 to $9 million range, then we're having a different conversation about what you're wanting to do with Mikko Rantanen. And no, the Avalanche are not trading Mikko Rantanen no matter what this year. It's not happening. Because does that make this team better? I know you can't really say like what they would bring in for him right now, but what they're going to bring in is not anybody with term. So you are out there to win the Stanley Cup. And worst case scenario, you go win the Stanley Cup and then you don't sign Mikko Rantanen. You won the Stanley Cup, which is the goal. And now you go into the offseason with a lot of money opened up because you didn't sign Mikko Rantanen, and then you can go get one of the top unrestricted free agents, and hopefully whoever that is pans out. I don't think any of that is going to happen, with the exception of the Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup. That clearly is going to happen. But I do think the Mikko Rantanen deal gets done. I don't think either party wants to part with one another, and I think that's fine. But just in terms of what this signing means for Mikko Rantanen, I don't think it means anything. I don't think it means anything about it. Because like I said, you have to sign a goalie somewhere. There's money going towards a goalie somewhere. If it wasn't Mackenzie Blackwood, it would have been somebody else who maybe commanded more money than Mackenzie Blackwood. So because of that, I don't think it's a terrible deal. We'll have to see if this pans out. And the final thought I'll have on this is, if it does pan out, and I put this up on social media too, if it does pan out, the Avalanche could be set in goal for a good chunk of time here, because you're going to have Blackwood and Wedgwood for the rest of this year and next year. Wedgwood is signed for next year. After that, I know we all love Scott Wedgwood early on, but he's a journeyman backup goalie. And I'm not saying he's not valuable. I think he does have a lot of value to this team, namely in the locker room. But so far he has looked good too, and in the backup role, and he's just fine doing that. That's his role. He's fine playing that role. He's not going to push Blackwood to take over as the starter or anything like that. But after that, like, you do have Nabokov waiting. I know he's over in Russia right now, but that maybe is the longer term plan. So you have Wedgwood and Blackwood this year and next year. And then after that, you have to get Nabokov involved somehow. Whenever he comes over, maybe he'll go. I don't know if it's going to be next year. Could be. He probably camps in the AHL for a year. And if they like what they see, maybe that's when they move on from Wedgwood, and Nabokov takes the backup role, and he's in that backup role for 4 years. And that's not the worst thing in the world. Goalies take a little bit longer to get acclimated. You don't see goalies at Nabokov's age at 21 coming in and taking over the league. Goalies start to pick things up 26, 27. So you bring him in, and he's your backup for the last 4 years of the deal for Blackwood. And then and I know I'm thinking way far ahead here because Blackwood just signed this deal. And I don't want to go to the end of it already, but hey, why not? At the end of the deal, he's going to be 33 years old. And depending on how this goes for the next 5 years, say you win a cup, and he's top of the stats and a number of goalie stats. Maybe he gets nominated for a Vezina or something like that. He just has a good career in these 5 years for the Avs, right? What's his next contract going to look like? He's 33 years old. You can still get a pretty decent contract as a goalie. You definitely could. And what do we know about the Avalanche and goalies? They don't like to pay him a ton. So if that's the case, then that's when Blackwood exits. He plays his 5.5 years for the Avalanche, and then Nabokov comes in. And he takes over right around that 26-year-old age when and he's had 4 years of backup and playing. You would like to have him play a good amount. And when that time comes, he's ready to take it over. And if all that works out, and then he comes in net, and he's your guy, and then he's your guy for the next 10 years. Best case scenario, Avalanche are set in goal for the next 15 years. That's good. Worst case scenario, we don't know the worst case scenarios. Nothing works out, all falls apart. Nabokov doesn't pan out. And the Avs are back to square one trying to find another goalie for their team. Seems like we've been through that, and we've done that for the past however many years. So I would like for that to turn around and not have to do that. And hopefully things work out for the Avalanche in goal for once. I don't say for once. We've had Patrick Waugh and Darcy Kemper won a cup with us too. It's like they've had good goalies, but stable goalies. We'll see. We shall see. So yeah, it's done. And then he goes out and plays a terrific game against the Utah Hockey Club. So let's get a break in. When we come back, we will discuss that. Oh yeah, and by the way, still no mask for Mackenzie Blackwood. This thing better be the best looking mask in the history of goalie masks if it's taking this long for him to get it. Wedgwood got his, which is pretty cool. We posted that. But the Blackwood, still waiting for it. So this is going to be the almighty mask of masks for goalie masks. So, all right. Yeah, let's get our break in and then talk about this game against the Utah Hockey Club, which the Avalanche win 4-1 in their first game back after the Christmas break. All right, today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks, and if you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action, and you can now win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, they're still giving away $30 million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in the month of December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. You get $50 immediately after you play a $5 lineup over on PrizePicks, where you can run your game. All right, so the Avalanche back in action. First game back in Utah. So they win it 4-1 behind fantastic goaltending from Mackenzie Blackwood and a hat trick from Artturi Lehkonen, which is his first hat trick of his career. Oddly enough, this series between Utah for the season series is done. The Avalanche win 2 out of 3. The losing team in all 3 games only scored 1 goal. Colorado won 5-1 and 4-1, and Utah won not that long ago, 2 weeks ago. They won 4-1. So I guess that's just one of those things. So overall, this was you can see the difference. I think this signing, the Blackwood signing, the Blackwood trade, even the Wedgwood trade. This team is just playing. They're hitting their stride at the right time, and maybe all that stuff just came together at the right time. Maybe the 2 trades, and now the extension, and it's when they started to play a little bit better. It was beginning of December into mid-December. Maybe all that just started coming together, and that's when the Avalanche hit their stride because they're playing just like a whole new team right now, and I do feel like the having someone in goal that they trust just makes you play maybe a little bit looser. Not in that you're giving up chances because you're taking more chances. You're just not playing so tight. You're not playing so tight in that, like, man, if I make one bad mistake and this guy gets by me, there's a goal happening. Or if I'm out of position just by like a foot, this guy's got the drop on me and there's a goal that's going to happen on our goalie. And Blackwood is giving them the faith and, guys, go play your game. And if you do have that misstep and you're out of position, like, I got your back. And he made some incredible saves and really good rebound control too. Utah did a really good job in really kind of clogging the net front and really trying to take away the lines of sight for Mackenzie Blackwood. And he did a really good job of combating that. And when, they got a shot on goal, he either just knew he was kicking it aside because he had the opportunity to do that and the time to do that, or it would just go right into his chest and he would just soak it up. and there was no rebounds to be had for those guys in the net front for Utah to bury home a rebound. So he was really good. Avalanche as a whole, the thing for them this year has been just slow starts. That wasn't the case in this one. They came out, they looked really good in that first 0-0 after one. I think they had 6 shots on goal in the first minute of the game. What'd they end with? I got the stats up over here. They ended up with 37 overall. Utah had 35 on net. So this was a close game. I know the score looks 4-1, but you get 2 empty netters from the Avs that maybe inflate the final score a little bit. But even though, I like Utah. If you listen even before the season started, I didn't pick them to make the playoffs, but I picked them to be a much improved team, and they clearly are. They're just not there yet to hang with teams like Colorado over the course of a season. They're close, and you can see it. Like they're putting in effort. Like they are not the pushover Arizona Coyotes that we are used to. I think there are a couple just, big name players away from really turning that corner, but they can hang with you. They can hang with you. And you saw it. So I thought that in the first, seeing that pace of play for the Avalanche in the first just made you feel good. And they've been doing that for the past few games now. And that's where I go back to, I feel like this team is just hitting their stride. And you're going to see that now. You should have been seeing that before. For whatever reason, you weren't. You were not seeing a team that came out and just opening puck drop was just on it. How much of the goalie play was at fault there? Sure, I'm sure there was some, because you didn't want to jump out and just start immediately just having a track meet and giving up chances on the back end, because like I said earlier, you just felt like they were going to bury goals. Now I just feel like the team can just go out and play their game, knowing that they have someone like Blackwood and even Wedgwood. He's been playing very well since he came over too. And it just loosens the team up a little bit. So I thought it was funny because I was going to post something over on Blue Sky and just say, it just seems like Nathan MacKinnon isn't that visible. Not that he's having a bad game. That Utah was clear. I mean, most teams, and Utah was probably no different here, focus on him and try to not let him just go crazy. But then, it just shows you how difficult it is to do that. And he ends up with 3 assists on the day, which puts him to 60 points total, which still obviously leads the league. So, and that's what I say that all the time. When things are not, I don't want to say they were not going the Avs way, they were, but when things are tough, they're a struggle to get goals. That's when you need your stars to just give you that little bit extra and step up their game a little bit more to get those points and get those goals in net. And that's what Nathan MacKinnon did. Beautiful play on the first goal to Lehkonen. Great pass from Sam Malinsky. He enters the zone and has a nice pass between 2 Utah Hockey Club defenders. MacKinnon gets it, makes some really nice stick moves, and a beautiful pass to Lehkonen for the redirect. So and then MacKinnon gets into a fight. What was that about, man? That was right at the end of the second. Right at the end of the second. I think there was less than a minute left when that happened. I don't know if that was frustration on his part. I mean, it seemed like whoever it was on Utah that he was fighting with, I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, checked him, but it didn't seem too bad. And maybe something happened before that. I really don't know. But for whatever reason, yeah, Nathan MacKinnon threw down. And in one hand, you're like, yeah, don't mess with Nathan MacKinnon. But on the other, you're like, why are you doing that, Nathan MacKinnon? We need you for the long haul, my man. And there was a time a couple years ago, remember he got into a fight? I'm trying to remember who it was against. For some reason, I think it was the Bruins. I'm probably wrong on that. But he got into a fight and injured his hand, and he was out for a little bit. I don't think it was super long, but it was a couple games, which you don't want him to miss any games because of something like that. But he got the 5-minute major and was out. And Utah took advantage of it. They took advantage of him being out and just in turning the tide of the ice. So that's how much important part. Obviously, he is. Surprise to no one. Cale Makar, on the other hand, was just dealing. When that guy gets just into a zone and he knows nobody can stop him, it's a ballet on ice. Now, he didn't have any points, but that's one of those things where it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, just what he's doing. So I thought he played a phenomenal game. Overall, I thought it was a good game for the Avs. The penalty kill seems to be turning the corner. I know Utah did have one. They were 1 for 3 on their power play, which I think ended the Avs. They had like 18 in a row, 19 in a row in that area where they had that many kills in a row. But it's not taking away for what the Avalanche have done with their penalty kill in the month of December. It's been really good. And as far as the power play goes, yeah, I mean, as we're 0 for 2, but, especially on the first one, at least you're getting shots. They had, I think, 4 shots on goal on the first one. At least, that's what you want to take out of things like that. If it's not going well, are you at least getting shots on net and quality shots on net? I'd have to say that they were. And this whole game was a struggle to get goals up until the third period. So, Vejmelka was playing a very good game. This was a really good game in goal for both teams. While you didn't score on the power play, which you clearly need to start doing, at least you were getting opportunities and shots on net, in net, or around the net, and causing some chaos. Because it just seemed like the Avalanche have not been doing that for a while on the power play. So again, another thing that they need to work on, and everything else. The goalie situation's good. Your defense is improving. You don't want to get that many shots on goal. You want to bring that down a little bit. But now your penalty kill is doing very well. So where I say things are looking up for the Avalanche and how they're playing as a team. And you want to do that now because this is when you want to hit your stride, especially now because mid-February, you got a longer break than normal. So you want to go into that break playing your best hockey because when you come out of it, we're going to have the rust talk, I'm sure, at some point. But it might be very well welcomed at that point in time for some players on this team to heal up for a couple weeks. All right, let's get our last break in. And when we come back, we'll turn to our subtext crew and see what they had to say about this game over Utah. We'll do that right after this. All right, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up the W, and we love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. And are those Denver Broncos going to do it this weekend? I have a good feeling about it. Pretty tough opponent with the Bengals, but I feel like they let an opportunity go last week against the Chargers. And now you're going into Cincinnati. You never know what you're going to get out of Cincinnati either, except for pretty good offense. So I just got a vibe. I have a vibe that the Broncos can do this. So just visit Fan if you want to put that $5 down. Get that $250 on the Broncos. Maybe a good week to do it. Just visit FanDuel.com. Join today. It's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets where you can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's turn to our subtext people and some comments that they have on this game that the Avalanche win over Utah. Excuse me. We'll get right in. Let's see. We got Cody. Says good first and second, stressful third. And I understand MacKinnon not being on the ice makes a difference, but the announcers for the game seem to think that the Avs' only issue, or that was the Avs' only issue, and I'd argue the Avs had bigger problems Like Manson simply getting outworked, Rantanen spending time with MacKinnon in the box, and the defense being lackluster, not pressuring Utah out in any way on the PK that resulted in a deflection goal, giving all the momentum to Utah. But hey, Blackwood played great, and Lehkonen gets his first career hat trick, which is kind of surprising, as I figured he'd have a couple already. Lehkonen was not known as a scorer when he was in Montreal. Like the Avs struck gold and really brought him in and kind of turned him into this scoring machine that he's become. Yeah, he could give you points, but I think, with all the injuries the Avalanche had when they acquired him, he's kind of had to morph into a guy that they need to rely more on scoring, and he seems to be just fine taking that role. So does it surprise me that he didn't have a hat trick? Not maybe since he joined the Avalanche, but not with Montreal, because he really wasn't there to. And that's part of the reason why Montreal traded him, because they didn't need him for the role that he was playing. So yeah, I think this is. I don't think this is his last with the Avalanche. I agree with him saying, like, the announcers seem to think that was the Avs' only issue. It wasn't. Manson, yeah, I didn't even bring him up. Josh Manson did. This is his first game back after injury. You could tell. Had some fine moments, but had a really bad turnover right behind Mackenzie Blackwood that almost resulted in a goal. And, other goalies in net, maybe it would have. But I think he'll be all right. We know what Josh Manson can give this team. This was his first game back. Let's give him a little bit of a latitude here, getting back into the flow of things. Electrician Ziggy, as consistent as Lecky is night in and night out. Can't believe this was his first career hat trick. Also, yet another shout out to Blackwood. The only goal he let in was off a beautiful deflection. Yeah, it was just a redirected goal. So it was, they were making Utah work for those goals, and the one that they got was power play deflection in front of the net. So yeah, he says he was a brick wall yet again. Yes, he was. Mark says Blackwood, wow, his shutdown style is so nice to have. Taser played solid all night. As always, he did. I thought Devon Taves had a fantastic game. Lecky was vibing. All three. I love the 3-goal third period, and those close games can be nerve-wracking. His sound check is won't back down. I don't have a sound check for you guys tonight. I just doing this solo. I don't know. I got to have my my sidekick here to do sound checks, so I don't have one for you. But that's a good one. That's a good one, Mark. Kay says great effort. Got caught standing around a little in the third, but a pretty complete game. I can't believe that was Lucky's first hat trick. Everybody's surprised by it. I get it. I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm so like, I'm not surprised, but just, knowing what he wasn't expected to do in Montreal, it's not super surprising. Like I said, maybe it's a little bit surprising he hasn't done it since he's been on Colorado. They're rolling and they look great. I can't believe how much more relaxing it is to watch without goalie anxiety. 100%, K. It was. While this game's coming down to the wire and it's close, you just felt like, hey, if they just play their offensive game, they'll be fine. Because in that, Utah had to work that hard to get that one goal. They're gonna have to do it again. So you did. She's 100% right. You feel really, really good about that. Lisa says, I cannot believe like he's never had a hat trick before. All right. This is a great road win, and so super excited for Lehkonen to get his first hat trick. It is. I'm just finding it. I'm reading these for the first time, like right now. So I'm just finding it funny that almost everybody has the same thought. Madam Battleaxe, am I the only one that doesn't like the Mario Brothers player up sound in Utah? I know, yeah, they would do it. And I thought there was another team that did it. I don't know why I'm thinking Washington. Lisa, I know you're the Washington fan. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. But I think there is another team that does the Super Mario Brothers power up when they're coming out of the penalty box, and which was the Avalanche's first. So they're taking our Yeti, probably. We don't know yet. And they took our Mario power up coming out of the penalty box. Does Utah want to be the Colorado Avalanche? Do they want to take everything that the Avalanche do? Is Blink 182 going to be their theme song next year? I have to dig into this. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And then Joe says, good stick. Lecky, as always, a weird game against Utah. I love when Mac fights and doesn't break his hand. There you go. Blackwood is looking so good, and the team is confident in front of him. He's going to put a finish band for his sound check, In Your Face by Children of Bodom. Fantastic band right there. So, yeah, I think everybody's kind of feeling the same right now about the Avalanche and how they are playing. So we'll wrap things up. Where are they playing next? Let me look that up quick. I don't have the schedule in front of me. They are playing, man, they don't play until Tuesday. Wow. So they're off all weekend. Yeah. Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And it's a big one at home against Winnipeg. So yeah, that's a mighty big game as the Avalanche are, and Dallas lost, by the way. So, I mean, they still have, Dallas has 3 games in hand on you, but you're 3 points up on them. So big game on Tuesday. So you're rested. You're going to be well rested, and you know Blackwood's going to go in that game. Do they play the day before? I want to see if Winnipeg plays the day before that quickly. That's Tuesday. Winnipeg plays the day. So they're on the second game of a back-to-back. They play at home against the Preds, and then they are traveling to Colorado. That lines up perfectly for the Avalanche. So, yeah, we know we'll be talking about that heading into that game. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day over the weekend. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. So, yeah, thank you. We'll be back on Monday. Kyle will be back, and we'll get his take on this Blackwood extension, and definitely be talking about the game with Winnipeg. All right, everyone, enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you guys on Monday.